Hello and welcome to the Lufkin Salvation Army virtual 79th anniversary banquet. We hope that you'll grab a dinner, gather around the computer screen or TV for the next few minutes as we show you a bit about what your Salvation Army is doing and how you can help. I'm Al Ross. You may have heard my voice on KSWP and KVX Christian Radio in our community. Not only do I have the privilege to MC tonight's event, but I also serve on your local Salvation Army Advisory Board. So let's get started with tonight's program with prayer.
Hi, my name is Brad Ballard, and I am the Discipleship and Missions Pastor at Denman Avenue Baptist Church. And so I'm going to ask you to join with me in a prayer to lift up the Salvation Army and the work that they're doing here in Lufkin. And so if you would, let's pray. Father, Lord, I just want to thank you for today. I thank you for your mercy and your grace that is new every day. Lord, I thank you for your presence that we get to experience. And so, Lord, I pray right now that you will be with us and that you will be with the Salvation Army of Lufkin, that you will continue to strengthen their ministry, that you will continue to bring them new partners and people who will support them and will help them in their effort to minister to the people of Lufkin. Lord, I pray right now, and I ask that you will bless them, that you will bless this ministry. Lord, that through the Salvation Army and that through your church, Lord, that your kingdom will grow and expand. Lord, I pray for the people who are coming here to get their needs met. Lord, their food needs, their ministry needs. Lord, I pray and I ask that you will be with these people. Lord, that you will help them to know that you love them, that you care for them. Lord, that there is a body of Christ here in the Lufkin community that loves them and cares for them and wants them to know you. So, Lord, my prayer is that your name will be glorified. In your name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Tonight's event is our annual fundraiser and an opportunity to report to you, our community, about the activities of your Salvation Army. Let me mention at this time about our online auction. We've got some incredible items that we hope you'll take a look at after this program. We'll keep the auction open for the remainder of the week. As you are well aware, the pandemic has affected us all, and the Salvation Army has not been immune to the effects. More people than ever are hurting and in need, and one of those needs is simple: the ability to secure food to eat. Watch this.
The Salvation Army of Lufkin serves Angelina County through many different programs and services. And one of those services is our community feeding program. We call it the community feeding program. Most people might refer to it as a soup kitchen, but we do that so people feel comfortable and don't feel like they lose any dignity or respect in needing to have food assistance. We know that food is such an essential need that when people come in our doors and need a hot meal, we never want to turn them away. And so we've been blessed to be able to help so many people through this program. Before COVID-19, we had usually about 100 people a day that would come in for a meal, lunch and dinner time. We served from noon to 1, lunch and dinner from 4 to 5. And we were able to meet that need pretty easily, as we had a staff member that oversaw that and some volunteers that would come in, and from the donations as well from Second Blessings. As COVID-19 hit, we saw increased need through this program especially. And through the months, we've increased every month with the need. And so currently we have about 500 meals a day that we're serving. And we have received so much support and volunteerism from Angelina College to Heart Hospice to all kinds of churches and individual volunteers that have come in and helped us.
So every day they serve lunch and dinner. I think it's an incredible amount, like 500 people a day. So starting at 11:30, I'll get here, prep the meals, and then as people arrive, we'll serve the community.
So once the pandemic hit and we went from serving 100 people to 500 people a day, and we had to close the actual establishment where the people were coming in to eat, and we put up a drive-through line and 4 people to do the job of what one person was doing. You know, it was easy when we had our window and the clients would be able to walk up and get their tray and have a seat and eat. And once the pandemic hit, we were put in kind of a bind for volunteers because, you know, you have one person that cooks the food, but, you know, you have all this food that you need to be putting in trays, and you have 500 trays to make and a line of hungry people outside. So it really changed the whole dynamic of the way that we ran things, and we definitely had to lean on our community for support to help with the manpower that was needed to continue our feeding program.
We need people, though, to still continue as the need continues to rise to help us, whether you can give a monetary gift or a donation, a gift in kind of some kind of non-perishable item, or, you know, the challenge really is, and we've asked a lot of people to consider even just giving an hour a month of your time to come in and give back. Though the need is there, we see that there are so many people that are so grateful for just a hot meal and someone coming to give in this capacity. So if you're able to, please consider an hour a month to give back and serve those through the community program.
So I'm Regina Tucker, and I have a story about the Salvation Army. I grew up Salvation Army. My mom brought me to church here when I was young, and I was a Girl Guard, a Sunbeam, a Junior Soldier. I guess when I was in my late teens, I started straying, and things got pretty bad pretty quick. I was an addict for over 15 years. During that time, I lost my husband to prison and my children to CPS, and that still wasn't my rock bottom. I didn't find my rock bottom until I found myself in Angelina County Jail, and I had gotten a drug charge and a theft charge, and so while I was in there, I had a whole lot of time to think about things, and a lady had gave me a Bible, and I started to talk to God again, and I didn't know how to change. I didn't know how to make my world better, but I prayed about it, and God gave me a verse, Job 23:10. For he knows my path, and I shall come forth as gold. So when I finally got out of jail, I didn't think that I would ever be able to get my life right. I didn't know how, I didn't know anything but what I'd been living. So I was homeless, and I walked the streets, and I would come to the Salvation Army over at the soup kitchen, and I would eat lunch, and Miss Rosa would talk to me. I was put on probation, and my probation officer told me that I had to do 500 hours of community service, and that she had placed me here at the Salvation Army's thrift store. I hadn't been here since I was a little girl at that time, and I come and I was doing my community service, and the captains were amazing. The captain at the time was a real inspiration to me. She would talk to me, and she began kind of telling me, that life is what you make it. Everything you do, has a repercussion or a benefit. And she asked me, what did I want out of life? And that was a question that I wasn't sure I knew how to answer, but it stuck with me. And I began to think about what was my purpose? What did I really want out of the life that I was given? And so I did my 500 hours of community service and had worked on getting my children back and had them back in my life. And so as I looked at my kids, I didn't want to be the parent that said, hey, I didn't get my high school diploma, but you're going to get yours. And so I took the captain's words and I went and got my GED. Well, I was so excited when I got my GED. I come up here and I had my little piece of paper and I run in and I said, Miss Moore, look, I got my GED. And her next question for me was, okay, that's great. So now what do you want to do? And I didn't know the answer to that either, and I prayed about it. And I was an addict, like I said, for 15 years. And if I could do things, if I could get my GED, and if I could do things, then I wanted to give back to those people, those lost people. And so I enrolled in Angelina College, and never in a million years, had I thought that homeless girl walking down the street eating dinner at the Salvation Army would be at Angelina College. I was doing my internship, and I had 3 semesters worth of internship to do, and lo and behold, if he didn't put me right here at the Salvation Army doing social work and learning that aspect of the Salvation Army's mission. And it was amazing to help people and to be able to witness and tell them about God's love. So once I graduated, I came to work at the Salvation Army in the community feeding program. I was the cook, and we started out cooking probably 100 meals a day, and then the pandemic happened, and we went from cooking for 100 people a day to 500 people a day. And it was a real learning process, but I've never felt so much joy as to be able to hand people a hot meal. And it kind of humbled me, because I remembered myself, walking up to that line and what that meant to me. So, and to know, as I would count my meals that I was cooking for and feeding 500 people, that's 500 people that wouldn't generally be able to eat, or most of the time walk through this life and they're overlooked. And to those people, the Salvation Army isn't just a hot meal. It's a friendly conversation. It's somewhere that you can be accepted and understood. And being a part of that is truly amazing.
Lufkin has been blessed with a great set of captains for a time like this. Captain Caven and Jennifer Phillips and their incredible children have been doing an excellent job in leading us. And Caven is a homegrown Lufkinite. Let's hear from our captains, Caven and Jennifer.
So we wanted to take a moment to think of our year at a glance, and we wanted to claim the promises of God and continue to look at the Lord as Michelle BRILEY, our chairperson, has given us that term this year, and we want to be reminded to look at the Lord. When we got here about a year ago at the end of June, we were so excited to be in Lufkin and Caven's hometown where he grew up at. And we came to our first board meeting, got to know our board and some of the people in our community, and we knew that we were going to be in love and just welcomed so much by East Texas and being here in Lufkin. We got excited to just see people at work, and we were blessed by a private donor who gave us a substantial gift to help us get through those summer dry months, and we saw the Lord at work. And then we were able to start on some of our Behind the Red Shields and get the name of the Salvation Army out to our community and invite people to come and see what the Salvation Army does. We were excited to be part of the Back to School Bonanza and help over 500 children with different clothing articles at our thrift store through our voucher program. And we were excited to be involved with Walmart and do Stuff the Bus and get over $1,000 donated for school supplies and donate that toward our Back to School Bonanza. So we were reminded to continue to look at the Lord. And then we were able to reopen our food pantry in November and get some donated items from Walmart and Sam's with our collaboration of East Texas Food Bank and retail stores, and give away fresh food items to those in need dealing with food insecurities.
And so that brings us to our Christmas season that we had with our Red Kettle campaign, where we raised over $135,000. And we didn't do it alone. We did it with a lot of volunteers and a lot of in our board members also. And we thank the churches and other civic clubs, other businesses like realtors, like the banks for coming alongside of us to help us raise those funds. We also have our Angel Tree program, where we helped over 500 families. That was a very successful program where we were able to provide gifts under the Christmas tree for needed families. And so we just say thank you, thank you, thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your servant's heart.
And as we continue to look at the Lord, as our worlds were turned upside down in March and COVID-19 hit, we understood that we would have to lean and press into the Lord even more so. As the need of our community to continue to grow in Lufkin and Angelina County, we understood that there were so many that were in need. And we were able to give out hot meals. And since COVID-19, we've done over 31,000 hot meals through our community feeding program. And that we've also been able to collaborate with those, our neighbors around us in Angelina County, from Zavala to Clawson and Huntington and Diboll, to be able to give out food boxes, and then here at our facility in Lufkin as well, and have served over 3,500 food boxes to those in need. But not without the help of the community and great people that have helped us, like United Way and TLL Temple, Banquet South, Regions, Denman Baptist, St. Cyprian's, and the list could go on. We see the Lord at work. And we continue to see the Lord at work too, as we had some major renovations that need to be done, and yes, we're looking at and continue to look at about $1.4 million worth of renovations. Facility that has been here since the 1970s and has served thousands of people through the years. And we were just reminded of the generosity as we received a $500,000 donation from TLL Temple to help us with these renovations. And we were reminded to continue to look at the Lord. And God has also helped us as we are helping others in need through rent and utility assistance too, and we were able to get some funding from the CARES Act. But we couldn't do it without great people that help us in the community, and things that are happening every day, from our Rotary clubs, both Lufkin and Angelina, giving to help us with drainage systems, to the Lions Club helping us with new fencing, and Brookshire Brothers helping us with a donation as well, and Pilgrim's Pride, who's come alongside of us and given us thousands of pounds of chickens and gift in kind and help us to sponsor our event this year. We continue to look at the Lord.
And we look forward to the future. We are hopeful because we have a community who come alongside of us, who sees the need and get into action. Thank you, Lufkin community. Thank you, the communities of Angelina County, for helping us do the most good here in Lufkin. God bless you.
Along with utility and rent assistance, the Salvation Army also assists some of the most vulnerable in our community, our senior adults. We have weekly opportunities for volunteers to help pack and deliver food boxes.
So our community food boxes is another program that we have through our food pantry, and we were blessed to restart this in November of 2019 and reopen our food pantry to help meet the needs of people in our community and service not just Lufkin but Angelina County as well. So we were able to be a part of the what's called retail stores through the collaboration of East Texas Food Bank. And what that allows us to do is to be able to go to Walmart and Sam's twice a week to pick up items that are hitting their shelf life and be able to give those fresh items out immediately to people in our community that are having food insecurity and need to have some supplemental items and things to help get them through the week.
I do come by here and get the food pickup boxes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which is so important to my family and me. I don't know what we would do if we didn't come by here. We get fresh fruit, vegetables, meats, breads, you know, all kinds of things. And without the Salvation Army and me being able to pick this food up, I don't know what I would do. There would be no way I could make it. No way, no way. I mean, they have helped me in so many ways, you know, coming through. And plus the camaraderie with them, you know, even, you know, that makes you feel good, you know, that yeah, they really care. You know, they're doing this because they care, you know, and that makes you feel good all over.
Well, we get the much needed groceries that sometimes we're not able to get because our budget won't allow us to buy certain things to, you know, to live for groceries, because a lot of our money is spent on medication and that takes up some of our groceries, you know.
And the food they give us is good. It's not the same old thing. Sometimes it's milk and carrots, vegetables, and meat. Meat is, you know, is high at the store, and we just can't buy it. But we come up here to Salvation Army, and they give us meat and different things, we couldn't live without the Salvation Army. I tell you, the food is so high, and they give us a good quality, you know, and I really like that.
In our working years, sometimes we never imagined that we would have to depend on someone for some assistance. But circumstances sometimes bring you to that need. It could have been very embarrassing and humiliating to ask for help, but because of the friendliness and kindness and respectfulness, actually a Christian attitude toward helping others, it was a pleasant exchange, and we have been blessed with the donations that they have given to us of food.
So we normally would service usually about 50 people twice a week, about 100 food boxes pre-COVID. After COVID-19 hit, we saw an increase in our food need as well. And then in talking to some of the food pantries in our community throughout Angelina County, we found that they were having an increased need as well of people that were coming to them and needing food assistance. So since March, we've collaborated with several of our food banks here locally and food pantries locally. So it's been a great blessing to many people, and we hope to continue this for years to come. We've also been able recently to help be involved in the senior food boxes once a month as well, and be able to give to senior citizens in our community.
Look in your heart, and you are helping so many people that they're unable to help themselves sometimes, you know. Everybody needs a helping hand every now and then, you know, and when you give, it's not going to waste. You're helping people of all kinds, everybody, and it's so important. It's so important to give. We couldn't afford to go buy fresh fruit and stuff because that's too expensive, you know. We get eggs and milk and everything, but like I said, the people here make you feel good, like you're a human being. You know, I don't have to feel ashamed or needy because I'm coming through here and accepting their donation. And that's a good feeling. That's a real good feeling. I mean, it makes tears come to my eyes almost. That's a good feeling for them to make you feel like you're important.
In just a few minutes, we'll be hearing from our special guest, Mike Lindell. But first, we're going to zoom over to Leah Metters, Regional Resource Development Director for the Salvation Army, with a special guest. Leah?
Thanks, Al. My name is Leah Metters, and I'm Regional Resource Development Director with the Salvation Army, which means I have the wonderful privilege of working with foundations, corporations, and some of the most amazing individuals that make our ministry possible. Today I have with me Jamie Cornelius. Hey, Jamie.
Hi, Leah. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So first I wanted to start with you and just ask you, you know, Jamie, you've been a long-time supporter of the Salvation Army. What is it about the Salvation Army that kind of caught your heart? What is it that got you involved with the Salvation Army?
Well, my grandfather, my father's father, and my father and my mother were each dedicated to the Salvation Army for many different reasons. And I'm fairly confident that I recall that my grandfather actually was a William Booth Award recipient. So that there was his family history there. And as I saw their commitment, it naturally made me curious. And I grew to love the Army's biblical mission for service to others. And as a cheapskate, I really love the Salvation Army's efficiency.
I love that. Well, tell me, Jamie, what is it? Because I know you live in Dallas. So what is it about Lufkin? Because I know Lufkin is very special to your heart. So what is it about Lufkin that you continue to give in Lufkin?
Well, I hope enough of the listeners remember what Andy of Mayberry was, but Lufkin was Mayberry in the 1960s and 70s when I grew up there. I can hardly recall a mean-spirited person from those days, and everyone was so dedicated to service and helping others. It was just the spirit of the town. That environment was really a key to my desire to help others who are less fortunate.
Oh, I love that. Well, I can tell you, I work all over Texas, and Lufkin has a very special place in my heart because I feel like some of those same things are still there today. So we still have some incredible people there, some great hearts, and you're one of them. And we just love you so much. But I wanted to, from a donor's perspective, because tonight we have a lot of different people tuning in. We have longtime supporters. We have people who are just now getting involved with the Salvation Army hands-on and getting excited about it. And we have people that have heard, you know, what's going on in Lufkin and the exciting things we're accomplishing. And so we have a lot of people that are brand new to the Salvation Army. But as a longtime donor, can you tell us, why should people look at supporting, giving, and coming alongside us with this wonderful ministry?
Well, there are many fabulous benevolent organizations, and I certainly give them more than one, but you've heard my heart for the Salvation Army and the why. But the other reason is I really believe that few can compare to the Salvation Army's low overhead and their dedication to Jesus's commands to care for those who are less fortunate. There's just a personal connection that I believe, that I personally feel to the Salvation Army, but as well that I believe that the Salvation Army makes an effort to create to those who are benefiting from their services.
Yes, I love that, Jamie. We just, on behalf of the Salvation Army, we just want to say thank you. We don't know how we could do what we do without people like you loving and supporting this ministry. And so from the bottom of our heart, we just recognize you and say thank you so much for being so good to us.
It's my pleasure. It's my honor.
Back to you, Al.
Mike Lindell is a self-made millionaire, an infomercial superstar. He created the MyPillow empire from scratch in 2004, and he did it while addicted to drugs. He's been clean and sober for over 10 years, but his path from rags to riches and almost back to rags is an amazing American success story. From crack addict to CEO, let's meet Mike Lindell.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell. You all know me as the inventor of MyPillow, but what you might not know is I was a crack cocaine addict, alcoholic, cocaine, compulsive gambler, and I want to tell you how my story ties in to the amazing Salvation Army. Well, my story begins when I was 7 years old. My parents divorced. That's back when divorces weren't common. I was put into a new school, and I was the only kid from a divorced family. I felt I was different, that I didn't fit in, and I actually manifested into being somewhat shy, or I would show off. I would say, hey, watch me do this. You know, these grandiose things, climbing out of a moving bus window, all these, things just to fit in, to try and fit in, to get acceptance. And then if it was strangers I didn't know, I wouldn't even talk to them. I think it was like a fear of rejection. Well, you don't get rejected if you don't talk. And I remember at my 5-year reunion, I get there, and all my friends were there that had been classmates that had now graduated from college. They had started families. Their careers had expanded, and I hadn't done anything. I had dropped out of college in the first quarter. I had working at a drive-in movie theater. I'd been fired at the grocery store I worked at. But I took over that reunion. We were all together, and I told them, stuff that had happened to me. Like I was going skydiving, fell asleep on a motorcycle and crashed it. I got the back up on my bike and got down to to do the jump, and I jumped and my parachute didn't open. This was all in the same day, and everyone's going, wow, wow. And tell them I got 17 traffic tickets outrunning the cops in 2 days, or telling them that the mafia was after me. They were going to break my legs because I owed them all this money for football bets. Well, everyone's just mesmerized listening to these stories. But I got home that night, and I laid in bed, and a deep sadness came over me, and I wanted what they had. And I knew that deep down it was like empty. I was missing something. And it was around that time, I believe, that I was introduced to cocaine. And when I took it for the first time, I'm going, wow, I felt better about myself. It masked the pain. I had, I felt like I could talk to people. It was everything I was looking for. And I think God gave me the answers, the stuff that I wanted. And I got, I was an entrepreneur, and I started, I do problem solutions, coming up with different things. My sister flooded a 3rd-story building in an apartment building with a waterbed, and I became a carpet cleaner. I ended up getting married in 1987, had 4 kids, and it was like a functioning addict. And I think that's a fallacy too, where people perceive addicts as, someone on the street that's homeless or whatever. Well, addiction affects all of us, no matter how many forks you eat with, from no forks to 4 forks and everything in between. And we were like, like every other one. We're going. Everyone seemed to kind of be the same, functioning addicts, at least our friends. And then it got in the early 2000s, and I ended up getting into crack cocaine. And And you got to realize too that in the 80s, I went to all kinds of treatment centers, secular treatment centers. A little game we play. You get a DWI, you go to treatment so you don't go to jail. That's what we did. That's secular treatment, and it was one after another, and it would always keep you out of jail, but you wouldn't get anything out of the help. You wouldn't get anything out of the treatment. And through the 2000s, then I ended up with the crack addiction, and then I invented My Pillow. But there were two separate tracks. It was like, with the pillow, I was all in, and I would keep my addiction over here. But with the addiction and things that happened, I lost a 20-year marriage. People were taking my company. I was penniless, and it got to about 2008. And in 2008, I was all by myself. The My Pillow was just a little blip on the radar, and the drug dealers actually did an intervention on me. I was up for 14 days. I'm downtown Minneapolis, and I came out of the room, and all three stand there, and they're going, I go, what's this? And they go, we're cutting you off. And I go, what is this, an intervention? He goes, call it whatever you want. And two of them left, and I waited till the other one fell asleep, and I went down to the streets to buy crack, couldn't find it, nobody would sell it to me, and I came back upstairs, and I remember the dealer said to me, the last one that was there, he said, how'd that work out for you? And he said, give me that phone. He goes, I'm going to take this picture. He said, for that book you've been telling us for years you're going to write. And here's what he said. He goes, you've been telling us that this My Pillow thing is just a platform for God, and you're going to come back and help us someday, get out of this addiction. You're going to quit someday and come back and help us, and we're not going to let you die on us. And this is true. One of the things with me was I would tell people, even when we'd be after the bars would close, I owned bars back in the 90s. After they closed, we'd go to the friend's house afterwards, and I'd be telling them about reading about God and the Bible, and while I was in jail, or the end times, and I'm telling this, and we should quit our addictions. Well, they would quit that night and find Jesus, and I'm going, what did I say? And this happened one night when it was my uncle. And I went up, it was a blizzardy night, and down in southern Minnesota. And my uncle was one of the worst alcoholics I ever seen. And I went to his, went up to visit him. And as I'm talking to him, and I had talked him into going into the Salvation Army to coming back with me. And I did this as we were using, and it was just, and this guy, he had never, ever been sober since I had ever known him, since childhood. And for some reason, I had brought up the Salvation Army. I don't even remember how that came up. I just heard from other people that had went through it, that they were successful. I remember hearing that from friends. Anyone that had went through the program had, came out and they were set free. Their hearts were set free. And I'm going, I thought back then that the Salvation Army was just, you bring them clothes and they help people. I didn't know that they had this focus on addiction and on helping people find Jesus and get their hearts restored. And so I told my uncle, this would be the best place for you. Well, he went there, and the next time I seen him, maybe a month later, he was just almost running the place. People would pull up, and he's out front, and just for the first time and only time in his life, he had been set free, where something had actually worked. And I never forgot that. And what happened then in late 2008, after that intervention, later that year, on January 16, 2009, I had a prayer to God, and I knew that if I waited one more day, my calling would be gone. I made sure I didn't have any money and didn't have anything in possession-wise, so that I would show with God all things are possible. And I knew God had this big calling on my life. And if I had waited one more day, the calling would be gone. So I said a prayer. I said, God, I want to wake up in the morning and never have the desire again for drugs, alcohol, anything. And then I'll do this platform thing. It was kind of like making a deal. And I woke up the next day, and I'm going, something's different. And it was gone. The desire was gone. There's a difference between that desire was gone than being saved. But a couple months later, I felt led to go to a faith-based treatment center that came from our church. And I walked in there the first night, and they said, no, we don't want to hear about how much drugs you did and stuff. I had never been in a faith-based treatment center. They were all secular centers before that. And he goes, Mike, we don't want to hear about that. Let's talk about your father. And I go, wait a minute, what about my father? And they started talking about my childhood. I said, well, I came from a divorced family. And they're starting telling me how certain things could have affected that, how I felt about myself, this unworthiness. And I'm finding about these things that were deep down rooted lies from the devil, lies, complete lies, that I wasn't good enough, that I didn't fit in, that I was different. And I'll never make it. All these things that I think is a commonality that happens with everyone at certain times in childhood, and especially with the fatherlessness. And anyway, at that time, it planted deep-rooted seeds I had never heard of before in that setting. And it got out of that, and I ended up getting my pillow, getting started. I had to get that back. It was taken, all the shows had been taken, and to fast forward, I ended up doing an infomercial, where they said, nobody would take my pillow. This is just a little side story to never give up and keep your dream alive, and that addicts, when you are set free and you do go through a Salvation Army, that they're the hardest workers ever. By the way, I hire them as fast as I can because their hearts are restored. They need a second chance and they're ready to go. Well, that's how I felt, but got all my shows back, and I ended up to my friends and family. I said, let's do an infomercial. I said, I didn't know infomercials didn't work. So what I did, we all pooled our money. And the first time that we went to film, when we went to film the night before, the producer came in. I wanted to make him real, and they said, no, Mike, you need an actor. This will never work. And I said, no, I want a real audience. I want to make it real. Well, we were doing our reads the night before, and the producer texts the other guy. He was from California. He said, this guy's the worst guy I've ever seen. He'll never make it on TV. And, I think back to that. I mean, you all know the history since then, but I think back to that of, everybody's got a calling, and God had a purpose for me was to speak out and and use my voice, in which I couldn't even, here's this shy person that couldn't talk before. I would have said that's the last thing on the face of the earth that would happen. Well, with the success of my pillow, that platform did come to fruition. And what I've done is, for me, to get involved with it, to use my story to help people in addiction, the first thing you've got to do is find the best place for the best help, and that's the Salvation Army. When I have employees that have problems, there's two things I do with the Salvation Army. I'll take my employees that have problems, I'll say, you know what? You need to go, this is where you're going to go. You're going to go to the faith-based treatment, Salvation Army. That's where you're going to get your help. And people that come out of the Salvation Army, I'm grabbing them for the second chances. The amazing things they do there. I did a deep dive on everything the Salvation was, and from all these, the hope, the help, and just everything they stand for. I was amazed to find out they've been around since like 1886. And here we have the best treatment and best help right under our noses, and I think it was kind of hidden. And now, in this time we're in now, there's no better time than people that are reaching out for hope with the situation we're in this country right now, with this pandemic and everything going on. And the best help is the Salvation Army. The one thing I love about the Salvation Army, especially their help program for addicts, is they address those wounds that I went through. That's why it works. You address that and you fill that foundation with Jesus. People need a foundation when they come out, when they get help. Because when they come out, they're so ambitious. And one of the things I see when you get someone that graduates from the Salvation Army, they are the hardest workers. People ask me all the time, they go, Mike, you're always working. You need to relax. I go, it doesn't feel like work to me. Addiction was hard work. Addiction was some of the hardest work you can imagine. Every addict will tell you that. And to get set free of those wounds, and to fill it with Jesus, there's nothing better. You have right now, if you're looking to give anything to any charity or foundation or help center anywhere, you have one answer: the Salvation Army.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for inspiring us all. Speaking of inspiring, the Salvation Army has some great leaders in our local advisory board. As we bring our program to a close tonight, let's pitch it over to Michelle BRILEY.
Hi, I'm Michelle BRILEY, Business Development Officer at Commercial Bank of Texas and President of the Lufkin Salvation Army Advisory Board. Thank you for joining me tonight for tonight's virtual banquet. It's my privilege to come to you and tell you more about your Salvation Army and the work that we do right here in our community. First, let me say all of the money that you give is 100% dedicated to helping people in Angelina County. We have a fantastic board of community leaders that help direct the funding and the mission of the local Army, and I want to thank them publicly for their service. Tonight, you have already met and heard from our incredible captains, Captain Jennifer and Caven Phillips. Over the last few months, they have worked tirelessly to provide for those who are hurting and those who are hungry. They also have an incredible staff. It's small, but it's mighty, and we are so thankful for all that they do. Tonight, you have seen people that have been helped. You have watched volunteers stand in the gaps, and you have seen donors give to help make all of this possible. And now I'm coming to you with an opportunity to make a difference. We need your help. Would you please consider giving financially? We can use that money to help put food in the mouths of people that are hungry, to give shelter to those that are in need, and provide rent and utility assistance for those that may be going through a little trouble. We know that any amount is not too small. We are so thankful for whatever that you feel that you can give. And if you can't give monetarily, would you please consider coming and partnering with us to help fill food boxes, to give out food in our food line, and just to support the work here of the local Salvation Army. You make the difference. Thank you for watching tonight. Here is a link to donate and an email address to volunteer. You may also call us at 936-634-5132. Check the comments section for links to give. You can also drop a check in the mail or swing it by. The address is on your screen, and we'd love to see you. And just a reminder, please visit our auction page and bid on some of the wonderful items that we have available. A special thank you to our sponsors who helped make this virtual event possible. We were kind of nervous about doing something different this year, but thanks to you, it's turned out amazing. And again, thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for helping us do the most good.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you for joining us tonight. This program will be available for others to watch on our website and Facebook page. Please be sure and share it with your family, friends, neighbors, and coworkers. Don't forget our online auction and also to make a contribution. Every penny makes a difference. Be sure and thank our sponsors when you see them about the community. Special thanks to Pilgrims for being our title sponsor, Brookshire Brothers, Commercial Bank of Texas, and Southside Bank, and thank you for helping us do the most good. God bless and good night.